entertainmentbuddha.com.
Hey now everyone, we are back with a new episode of the Star Wars Time Show on the best podcast for Star Wars fans, that's you, and pop culture geeks, which is probably you too, but some of your friends, so go ahead and spread the word. You know you love us, so why not share it with your friends? So this is our regularly scheduled programming for the Star Wars Time Show. You know, last week Nick and I did a special episode because we love you all and we want you to be in the know on some revelations about the top cards and potential plot spoilers. But we're back at the regular scheduled time here, and we're going to talk about something, Nick, that went down this week that is pretty freaking major in the Star Wars universe, which is the departure of Colin Trevorrow from Star Wars Episode 9. But before we get into that, I kind of like what we did last week where we talked kind of about the random stuff before we got into the meat of our discussion tonight. So we're going to talk a little Last Jedi, we're going to talk a little Han Solo movie, and then we're going to get into the whole Colin Trevorrow fallout and just kind of talk about what the fuck's going on at Disney and Lucasfilm with these directors, and whose fault is it, and are these directors stupid? Is Kathleen Kennedy a motherfucker to work for? You never know. And then we're also probably going to list some of the directors we'd like to take over Star Wars Episode 9. Right, buddy? So
sounds good.
Here we go. Let's just go right to the Han Solo news piece, which we got some details this week. I mean, Ron Howard continues to be a pimp in sharing shots from the set. Last week he revealed that Homeboy is joining the picture, and if you're asking who Homeboy is, it is, and I'm literally drawing a blank right now. It's the guy that plays Vision in the MCU.
That's...
the fuck is his name?
Paul Bettany. Bettany.
Yeah, so Bettany joined Han Solo. Like, literally out of nowhere, Howard just like, oh, hey, look, who's on the movie now. And then this week he shared a photo, and I didn't get it up on Entertainment Buddha, but I saw it. I know Nick probably saw it too, so I didn't even share it with him, but there was a cantina fight in the Han Solo movie they were filming. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just natural shit. But the crux of this piece we want to talk about is the Millennium Falcon, and we're kind of getting details of what the ship may look like in the Han Solo standalone, right, Nick? So, I think the big thing here is that if you spotted the Falcon, what was that? That was in Revenge of the Sith. It showed up, right? It had a little Easter egg.
Episode 3, very, very tiny, entering a spaceport on Coruscant as we see our heroes returning to the planet. You can't really make out any detail. Basically, the only way you can tell it's the Falcon is because, I mean, for keen-eyed fans of Star Wars, we can pick it out from a mile away easily. And it's also got the signature, blue engines that we can see in the back. So that was pretty much the last time that we saw it in any current iteration of the movies outside of the original trilogy. And now, obviously, with this Han Solo standalone film, of course we're going to see the Falcon. The question is, what's the Falcon going to look like when we do see it? So in this reveal from Ron Howard, we get to, learn a little bit about what the Falcon is going to look like when Han takes possession of it from Lando. So we got to, we found out that in the movie, we're going to have that scene where there is the exchange or the swindling or whatever happened with Han and Lando to where, Han wins the Falcon from him. And apparently, before Han, gets his hands on the Falcon and starts making those special modifications that he talked about in Episode 4, the Falcon looked a little bit different. It's got a little different paint job. It's got some different, attachments onto and stuff like that. So according to, what we're reading here, it says basically there's an attachment that hooks to the front of the ship, and it's like elongated forks. It looks seamless, but can also detach to drop a shipment of spice for Imperial entanglements or anything like that. So basically, it's like what would you say, Matt? It's like a hauling mechanism, right? It's something.
I mean, I could be just making this up in my head, but didn't at one point it was described as a freighter?
I mean, the name, I believe the name of the ship is like the YT Corellian Corvette, something like that, right? I don't think a freighter.
From somewhere, I'm getting that it was a freighter ship. But yeah, I mean, it's essentially going to have these prongs in the front that are all about cargo, hooking in, dropping it off. And what do we know about how Han got himself into trouble? It was because he dumped a spice cargo haul for Jabba the Hutt. Or I don't know if it's spice. I mean, that's Dune. I could just be making that up. But yeah, so it's. I think, Nick, what's more interesting is that, and again, this comes from our buddies over at Making Star Wars. Not that they know who we are, but we're just going to tell them they're our friends, because why not? But the ship apparently is going to be brand new, which I find interesting, because if you remember a line of dialogue from Farm Boy Luke is basically, this is a hunk of junk.
Yeah.
And aren't we talking that young Han Solo is only taking place maybe 10, 15 years before A New Hope, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Luke's, obviously we know that he was like what would be considered a car guy for, nowadays. Like, he's really into ships.
He's a tinkerer.
Yeah. So he might have looked at the Falcon and said, this thing's 10 years old or whatever. It's a big piece of shit. And then obviously, it looks a little bit more rough because Han's a rough and tumble kind of guy. He's probably been in a few scrapes with it. And then, he's made his modifications to it. It probably doesn't look stock or standard, or, it doesn't have the pretty finish to it that a ship that's been taken care of by its owner might have. So maybe when Luke saw it, he's like, I know what kind of ship this is, a Corellian freighter, YT Corellian freighter. And it looks like shit compared to what it should look like. So,
well, yeah, I mean, apparently what we're getting from these rumors, and they're probably going to be true. I mean, as much as sometimes we've poked at Making Star Wars, they do know their shit, so they definitely have a mole. But, it's brand new technically, and it's going to be white, like a stark white with blue detailing around it.
That's pretty, yeah, it's going to be a pretty suave looking ship. I mean, coming from Lando, we know he likes his baby blue. If we remember from episode 5, he's rocking the baby blue cape.
Just look what he's wearing.
Yeah, so I mean, the guy likes his blue, and I wouldn't put it past Lando to when he bought that ship to pay for a custom paint job.
Yeah, pimped it out, tinted the windows, put on some big fat rims and wheels. Yeah.
Totally. Oh yeah, I mean, he's that's the kind of guy Lando was. So to know, now to know that it's going to have that kind of special finish to it and have this sleek look, it's going to be really cool to see the Falcon in a new way. Because, I mean, like we said before, we've only ever seen it as it was in the original trilogy. And at that point, Han had got his hands on it. Han had put it through the ringer multiple times, probably.
It was beat up looking. And then, hell, by The Force Awakens, it's in a fucking junkyard.
Yeah, literally.
And the only reason they got in it is because their other ship got blowed up.
Yeah, it was blown to hell, and then they're like, all right, time to go in the garbage. Let's do it. But
so before we move on, dude, this movie still, no official title, no trailers, no nothing. I mean, nothing outside of that original casting photo of the main cast in the Hall of the Falcon, which now is kind of a joke because the directors are gone. And it's like, at one time we heard that Aiden or Alden or whatever the fuck his name is a shithead. But is there any way it's coming out May 25th, 2018?
And I said this when the director change first happened to Ron Howard, and I'm sticking with it. I really think you just push it to December.
It's December, right? I mean, it's December.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. Star Wars is now a Christmas movie. I mean, it doesn't have to be Christmas themed, but that's when we know it works there. We know it worked for Episode 7.
I agree,
we know it worked for Rogue One.
They've literally been killing themselves to get it back to May because that's when George started it. I mean, all through George's movies, 1 through 6, they were May drops.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that too because everybody knows summer movie box offices
But
can be massive.
I kind of dig the mid to late December deal that kicked off with The Force Awakens, and clearly it's paid off.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, here's my opinion on it. No matter, you could release a Star Wars movie in the middle of October
on a Monday.
Monday. And it would still make $1 billion plus. Like, it doesn't matter when this movie comes out. Obviously, you know, for movie execs, for studio heads and stuff like that, seasonal matters. What season you release it in? Is this Christmas? Is this summer? Whatever. It makes a difference. But I think at this point they need to realize that the fans are going to come out no matter when it comes, when this movie comes out in theaters. We're going to be there. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas. It doesn't matter if it's May. What matters is that the quality of the film is high.
No, I agree. But don't you think that they're almost guaranteed to get more legs out of a holiday release than a May? Just because, I mean, December is 1 month out of the year that even corporations understand that people need days off and people are going to be taking vacations. I just feel like it makes sense. I mean, for what you said, you already have the built-in audience. You already have the freaks like you and me that are going to go see it. And we're going to see it probably 4 times, 5 times. You never know. It could be more. It depends on how good it is and the different formats we want to catch it in. But I just feel like December, it just sets up any franchise like Star Wars to do well because people by nature are going to have more free time in late December than any other month out of the year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then if you think about the summer movie, you know, kind of awe and the majesty around it, it's to capture the kids. The kids are out of school. You know, you get the kids together, you go see a movie or something like that. But what also happens during the summertime is people go on vacations. Like, they don't go on vacations to visit family to go home like they do for Christmas. They go on, like, let's go to the beach vacation or let's go on a cruise vacation and stuff
right.
like that.
Nowhere you want to see a movie.
Exactly. So when you get around the Christmas release dates like we've been getting now, people are at home with their family. If they don't live in the same state as their family, they're traveling. They're not going to be going anywhere exotic. So what do you do when you're there, you know, over the week or so? You go see a movie with your family. You got your mom and dad, your brothers, whoever. Y'all all go see a movie together, and that's the perfect time to go see a brand new Star Wars film. Everybody's at home. Everybody's got time to kill, and there you go. You're right there by the movie theater.
God damn it, dude! Why do we not have a trailer?
Yeah, the trailer question is definitely weird.
I mean, I know that
for Episode 8 and for Han Solo.
This is vintage Star Wars time tangent here, but I mean, it literally just came to me like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, we waited way too long to get the teaser. We still technically do not have an official full trailer. And the movie is what, 97 days away at this point?
I think it's actually you're right. You're pretty much spot on with that.
I think it is because I know the 100-day counter I think came out Tuesday. Tuesday.
Yeah, I think you're
Tuesday
right
or
on
Wednesday,
those.
but either way. I mean, what's going on, dude?
I got to think that it has something to do with like
secrecy.
Maybe
I mean, what the fuck's going I mean, they don't need it. I mean, technically they do not need fucking any promotional material, right? I mean,
no.
All you need are idiots like you and me and any form of media that is going to just blurt out anything they learn about Star Wars. I mean, at this point in time, it's such a huge machine. Sometimes I'm perplexed that they still spend the money they spend on promotion.
Yeah. So just to give the people listening some context, there is an opportunity for a massive trailer drop this weekend, and that is NFL opening weekend. That's like we talked about on the last cast. So we're recording this before any of the games are played. So who knows? There could be like a instant, just out of nowhere drop on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football this weekend. But as of now, we have no trailer. And if it doesn't drop this weekend,
Ohio State, Oklahoma's tomorrow, and I think that's 2 versus 5, and I believe it's on ABC, and we know ABC is Disney, and it's Saturday night.
I just don't think it's going to be on a college game. I mean, I know that college football is big, but college football is just not as big as like first Monday night game, first Sunday night game of NFL.
I'll give you who has Monday nights? It's
the Monday
ESPN, right?
Yeah, it's ESPN. So
well,
it's
I
Disney.
mean, and then no. So yeah, Monday night. I'll give you Monday Night Football over Saturday Night College for sure.
Yeah,
so because that's going to be a Disney network too.
And honestly, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't know if it was Rogue One or if it was TFA, but there was a trailer drop on a Monday Night Football show. I can remember it, but I'm just not sure for which one it was.
Well, the way things go, we'd almost should have a teaser by now for the trailer drop. I mean, that's what all this has turned into, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was gonna lead into, is like we don't even have any indication that a trailer is coming soon. Like usually they'll say tune into Monday Night Football, but at halftime for a special reveal.
So
or something
I mean,
like that.
let's just get nuts here, dude. What is it? Is it Johnson and all the powers that be are just going, hey, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just lay low. Let's lay low. We really want some mystery around this. We've already said a ton in the EW articles and this, that, and the other thing. Let's just be low key. Or are they like scrambling to do edits on the movie to the point where even their trailer company can't get a fucking trailer out?
I really doubt it's
Me
that.
too, but I mean, it's just like, it's weird though. Is it not weird that we have not had the first official full trailer yet? And I know I sound stupid, and I'm just being very I'm holding to semantics here, but that trailer in April was classified as a teaser, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they looked at the behind the scenes as more than it was in our heads, because I mean,
but we got that. We got that for Rogue One, and we got it for Force Awakens, and we still got more trailers though. Yeah.
I mean, you're right. And maybe they're just planning to do like they're not planning to do all the TV spots or the shorter,
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's weird. Like, if we do not get a trailer before October, I'm gonna be like, well, then what's the point of even releasing another one?
Yeah,
what's
I mean,
the
at
fucking
that
point? I know we're still 8.5 weeks away, but what's the fucking point?
Yeah, at that point, it's just if you're gonna wait till October, you just do the big trailer drop, and then that's it. There's really, I don't think you would even release another full length outside of that. Like, you would just have that one, and then you would do, 30-second, 15-second spots on TV or YouTube drops, stuff like that, and then that would be it. But I can't really think of a good reason for it. There's been no indication during the entire filming process that there's been any kind of issues that's come up, any kind of difficulties with, Rian Johnson or any of the actors, similar to what we've heard about going on with Han Solo. So, to our knowledge, there's no reason that there should be no trailer yet. But maybe it's just, Disney and Lucasfilm are trying something different. They're trying a new approach to how they want to market this movie. Maybe they're just waiting until October, and then it's just going to be nonstop. They're just going to flood you with...
They have to, because, I mean, dude, you and I, we have our fucking blinders on, right? I mean, we feel like everyone thinks about Star Wars like we do. I mean, to you and I, it's part of our daily life. I mean, if I'm not finding out something about Star Wars in a day, I feel like the day was a waste. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we have our little rituals.
So, I mean, there probably is merit into investing into a promotional campaign. So where I was talking before, like, oh yeah, you don't even have to fucking promote it. You kind of do, because honestly, people are fucking stupid. I mean, the older you get, the more experience you have, the more you realize that most people are fucking dumb. They suck. And they really don't deserve to be alive, right? So you do need to promote this type of stuff.
For sure. Okay, so here's a question. And this is something that the Star Wars franchise has never had to worry about before, and it's something that you see happen a lot in video games, and that's franchise fatigue. With Star Wars before, you never had to worry about, like, we have a new movie coming out every year. So you never had to worry about that. You had 3 years between releases. The hype was building year upon year upon year. You knew the new movie was coming out down the road. But now you're at that period to where you had Star Wars last year, you have Star Wars this year, you have Star Wars next year, and then you have Star Wars the year after that. Do you think Disney is starting to almost take into account franchise fatigue this early in the process and say, like, look, we know we're putting out a movie a year, but we're not going to inundate you with trailers all year round or with too much content, because they're worried about the casual fans saying, like, look, Star Wars is nice and stuff, but it's everywhere now, and it's all the time. I just can't take it anymore.
Hey, fuck them. That's what that's what I say to that statement. You know, get the fuck out of here, people. These are the people that'll watch NCIS LA, NCIS New Orleans, NCIS Miami, NCIS Columbus. I mean, there. I really do think there's a dumbification or stupidification of people in their entertainment choices, especially on TV, because it's literally the same fucking shit. I mean, shit on network TV is literally cops against bad guys, solve it, boom, Miller time, repeat, right?
Yeah. I
mean, so when we have shit like Star Wars that's so original and different and sci-fi, it should be celebrated. It should get shoved down your throat, because it is something new.
I agree, and like you said, we're nuts. You know, we'll if there was a new Star Wars movie that released every 3 months, we'd be in the theater every 3 months, seeing it multiple times. I just think that Disney is really, I don't want to say hedging their bets, but they're like, we know what we have here, and we know that if we push it too hard, it could end up, you know, flaming out. So I think
I don't know. I don't think that is possible unless George Lucas takes it back over.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because no matter what happens, like, even if they lose the casuals, there's so many
there's
Star
so
Wars
many
fans.
Of you and me, dude. There's so many. There are so many that they could throw up fucking static cartoons of Star Wars and I would tune in for it. Like, literally, just some kids' fucking stick figure drawings. They do like a flip book. I'd sit there and be like, yeah, cool, Star Wars. I'd be like, it's Star Wars.
As long as it's new Star Wars,
so I think this shit's Teflon. I mean, I even think if a lot of humans get nuked here in the next 4 years, that Star Wars will still live on to those who survive. I mean, it's almost going to be like the story of Jesus.
I think you're right.
Or like, you know, Homer. I mean, the Iliad and the Odyssey, all that shit. I mean, this stuff is going down as this time period, this generation, this 1,000-year mark. This is our work of art. I mean, it's something that is going to live on to the end of time, which could be soon the way things are going. But I mean, it will even make it through nuclear holocaust.
I think you're right. I definitely think that the franchise itself is just, it's not going to go anywhere ever. Like, regardless of whose hands it's in, or, you know, what happens with specific movies or anything like that, the franchise itself is just going to be eternal, for lack of a better term, and it's going to be studied for years and generations to pass. I just think it's curious, especially now. All right, so let's look at what else Disney's messing with in terms of long-running franchises. And the one that I can point out it's not even really similar to Star Wars. It's just a franchise that they realized has hit a fatigue point, and then they're stopping with it, is Pirates. And Pirates was like their shit. Like, that was it. That was the pinnacle of, like, Disney. They knew when they put out Pirates, it's going to be boatloads of money. No pun intended. And, like, now Pirates 5 comes out and they're like, no more Pirates. We can tell that the fatigue has hit the franchise. The fans aren't feeling it like they were before.
I didn't go see it, and I still kind of want to see it just because I have invested my life into the other 4 movies.
Yeah.
But even with the puke that is the prequels, I still saw those fucking movies multiple times in the theater. Yeah, I saw Phantom Menace at least 10 times. I was 19. I was stupid.
I mean,
Nick was a baby. I mean, he didn't even know. I mean, he didn't even know better at that point in time.
I saw episode 2 4 times. I saw episode 3 5 times. So, like, in episode 2, we all know episode 2. I mean, like, it's Dreg. It's the bottom of the barrel. But, like, it's just like you, dude. I think that Disney is just making a business decision. And they're saying, like, look, we have this for the long term. We have this for as long as we want it. So the last thing we want to do is, within the first, 10 years of us having this or 8 years of us having this is flame it out. And we're seeing it too. Look at the cartoon series. Like you said, Rebels is coming to an end. There's nothing that's really lined up next to it to, like, continue on that cartoon franchise kind of thing. We have Forces of Destiny, which is like the YouTube specific series, but it's not full length.
I mean, even those are entertaining. I don't know if you watched them, and they already all came out. They're just little 1-2 minuters.
Yeah, exactly.
But even those were fun, and they did show certain situations that were happening during the major moments we've saw in the movies, which was nice. I mean, just provide a little backstory.
I just think that like, Rebels ending and then having nothing to immediately follow it, and we may be reading a little bit too much into
Filoni, it. Filoni is on another cartoon series.
Oh yeah, he's probably working on something. But if you thought that Disney was gonna go balls to the wall 100% this whole time, they would have had something in the pipe, in the can, ready to go. Like, Rebels is done, but guess what? This new series is coming out 3 months after Rebels wraps up. And I don't think that's going to be the case. And what I think that they're going to do is, like, they're going to have a wind down period. I don't know how long it's going to be. Maybe it's 1 year, just to let shit settle a little bit. Like, okay, we've had a whole string of movies come out. We had Rebels running since we've had the franchise. So we let shit settle a little bit in terms of just, cartoons running, and just let the movies run their course. And then we come back a year later. We have a brand new cartoon series. Filoni has been working on it. Brand new time period. We're not going to go back to, this between episodes 2 and 3 or between episode 3 and 4 period. We're going to go completely new direction. And then you hit them hard with the new content.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where we're at in this discussion, but this is why I love talking to you, especially on Friday night. Because we're literally so far off the rails. But what we've been talking about, people, is that Star Wars fucking rules. And it's not going anywhere anytime soon, nor should it ever disappear. I mean, that's what we're saying. I mean, if you want me to boil down and kind of Cliff's Notes that fucking 20-minute random thing we just did, it's all about the Star Wars rules. It's going to keep coming for a while. This 2020 bullshit, that's a fucking joke. And that it should honestly never end. Period.
I agree.
I mean, there should be some form of Star Wars going, either cartoon, written, book, comics, games, it doesn't matter, till we destroy ourselves.
Yeah, I'll be right there with you in the Doomsday bunker, and we'll be watching. We'll
have our shit. We'll have our shit. I'll have some toys. You'll have the movies. It'll be a great few remaining moments before the flashes. All right, so let's get back to some of the news items, and we're gonna speed these up so we can get to the the main thing we want to talk about, which was the shocking news that Star Wars Episode 9 has lost its director, who's been on the project for multiple years and had a heavy hand in writing it. So that's what we really want to dive into. But before we get there, we have two more little news blips we wanted to talk about. And Nick, the one I want to get into now are the new images. And in particular, I don't really care about the Rose and Finn. I mean, I like it. You can tell that they have this bond between each other that seems kind of contentious, but I could almost see these two, possibly butting into something. Maybe not this movie, but the next. And then obviously Luke and his fucking somewhat dark Jedi type of Anakin Skywalker brown outfit that he changes into at some point. But the big thing here, Nick, was the image of Snoke. And the reason it was big is because this is the first time we've seen this dude as he will appear in the flesh in the movie, right? Because we've only seen him as a hologram in The Force Awakens. Any promotion we've seen him has either been conceptual based or some form of art or a toy. But this shot from a Topps card is a straight up capture from the movie. And we get a really great picture what this guy looks like. And, in the end, the only thing that matters about this guy's appearance is, can we decipher if this is someone we've been introduced to before and they might not have been a prominent character, but now they're coming back and we're all going to be like, oh, shit. Or should we just get to the point where, like, this guy is new. Yes, he's known about the events of this galaxy since the Old Republic. But he didn't start making his moves until the end of the Empire. So, dude, when you look at this guy, I mean, what's your first fucking reaction?
I mean, obviously, the most glaring characteristic of Snoke is his deformations. His facial deformations, all of the injuries that he's sustained. And here's why I point that out. You don't give a character those features unless it is a primary part of their character arc. There's no point in it. So like, if Snoke looks like this, and then the explanation is like, I got into a car accident and fucked up my head or something like that, it serves nothing to the character. It does it gives him no further arc. These deformations that he have to play a central role in what his character's arc is and what his story is and his overall involvement with this plot line. It's not like he looks like this for no reason. This is going to play a huge part in what his character's role is. So I really this always brings me back to Plagueis and the role that he played with Palpatine before he became the Emperor, teaching him how to harness the powers of the dark side, being this incredibly powerful Sith master. Thought to be dead, but that doesn't mean he is. I mean, we've never seen him die on screen. We only heard about his death from Palpatine, and it was, his apprentice killed him in his sleep. But we all know how that goes. If it's a quick job and you thought you got him, this guy is a Sith master who conquered death through the Force. I mean, who knows? He could still be alive. And that is my thought on who Snoke is and why he looks like this.
No, I'm 100% with you. I mean, that slash down basically from the top of his forehead down to his brow there, that's pretty key. The left side of his face is essentially missing. I mean, it almost is Freddy Krueger-ish, if not zombie-ish looking, like he got hit by acid. He kind of has the same look on the other side of his face. But to me, what I look at, and it's a lot different than how you interpreted that question, which I loved. I love that you went the direction that you did. But when I look at this guy, I'm like, yes, is he humanoid? Of course. Is he human? Absolutely not.
Look
how fucking big his fucking head is.
Yeah, I was going to say, the shape of his head alone is enough to say he's probably not a human.
Look at his nose. Look at his eyes. I mean, unless these deformities, like literally, as a popcorn kernel would react to heat and it just starts expanding, he does not look like a human. Humanoid,
Yeah.
of course. Human, no. So I think we got to start ruling out shit like he's Mace Windu or Kanan or or Jocasta Nu. I mean, I really think he is some alien species we don't know about yet.
And Plagueis, I mean, this is again old EU, was not a human. He was, I can't remember his exact.
He was very exaggerated. Like his head was very oblong,
very long. Yeah. But you can still see similar features in those two characters, even though Plagueis' head was essentially a rectangle, almost like a rounded rectangle type shape, very long. There are similar features.
Of course.
Another thing that I want to point out about this image, and it's in everything that we've ever seen from Snoke that doesn't include just his face, is the type of garb he's wearing. Like he's always wearing these very shiny, very fancy.
But notice under that he has almost a Jedi-like tunic going on.
Yeah. So my point with this was he either is or was some person of stature.
Right.
Like to wear something like that.
He's not wearing all black. He's not traditional Sith. He's not in all black, right? We can all agree that the Sith look was black.
Yeah, it was definitely black, but more than just the color, it's the style of the garb. Like this is something that you would imagine a person of wealth would wear in the Star Wars universe. A person who is, has great standing in a society. Somebody like if you're a general worker, you're not going to wear this. If you are a middle of the road Sith Lord, you're not going to wear this. But even looking back at Palpatine, yeah, he had his black Sith robe that he fought in at the end of the movies. But up until that point, he dressed in very extravagant garb that was fitting of somebody who was high society, like he was. He was a senator first and then chancellor, and he dressed the part. So I really feel like if you just look at what he's wearing, you can probably get an idea that in his past, he was probably somebody who was greatly revered, probably maybe wealthy, if not, a high-ranking member of some sort of, society of some size.
It's the best part. We may not get the details we so crave on this guy based on what Rian Johnson has said. He's essentially set this guy up as Emperor Palpatine in episodes 4, 5, and 6, who, we knew about, we heard about, but we really didn't even see until the third movie. Darth was the true enemy. But Palpatine was this ominous figure that loomed over Darth and was the all-powerful. And that's kind of how Johnson has explained this guy. He's like, we didn't know shit about Palpatine until the prequels were made. We only knew that he was this big badass that was in control of Darth, which is very synonymous to Snoke being this big badass, ominous personality that is in control of Kylo Ren. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we may not get a lot of fucking backstory on this guy. I hope everyone is prepared for that.
It would be so weird though, because all right, now when 4, 5, and 6 initially released,
dude, honestly, think about it. When you first watched 4, 5, and 6, were you sitting there going, man, who is this Emperor? Where did he come from? He was just kind of this guy you accepted as the big bad over Darth Vader, like Darth Vader's boss. But you always consider Darth to be the main bad guy, right? I mean, did you ever wonder? I know I didn't, and I know I watched the movies later on in my, I was a little bit older than when you watched them or whatever. Not that means anything, but I just remember never thinking about who is this Palpatine guy. I was always thinking about who is this Vader guy. Like I want to learn more about Anakin.
I never really wondered too heavily about the Emperor, or anything like that. I mean, like I didn't even really consider, his backstory, where he came from, anything like that. But I think it's a little different because with the,
I agree with you, but this is how Johnson's setting it up, and he's either smoke screening or he's just preparing all of us for. You may not get the deep backstory on this guy that you desire.
It would just be so weird to me to have a key figure like Snoke and not have any sort of story for him. Because what happened with Palpatine's, like, yeah, in 4, 5, and 6, we didn't get any information on him, but there was a whole trilogy of movies to come that did explain his backstory and that did give us all the information that we needed on him.
Yeah, but when we watched them, those weren't in existence, and those they weren't even reality. So I know it's weird to think, dude, I am 100% with you. Like, I want to learn everything about this guy, but I really do think they may frame him just like they framed Palpatine back in the 70s and 80s, with no anticipation of any prequels to explain who he really was. Like,
I think that George had the intention the whole time. I mean, like, this is up for debate. You'd have to ask George. But when he made the original trilogy, he might not have known exactly what he was doing with the prequels, but he knew, one, that there were going to be prequels.
Well, I mean,
at some point.
He said that he made Star Wars and that was it. Like, he thought that was going to go nowhere. It wasn't until Star Wars blew up that he's like, all right, now I'm going to bust out the other shit.
Yeah, but I just, like, I don't know. I feel like he had that ready to go.
It still took him almost 20 years, over 20 years to get those stories out, though. That's my point. Right. So, like, you and I, where we're at now, we can look back on all this stuff and just be like, oh, yeah, the prequels explained who he was and yada, yada, yada. But let's pretend there's little Matt and little Nick now that are just little kids who may have watched The Force Awakens as their first movie. This is their trilogy. Do you think they're sitting there, unless they have parents beating in their head like, oh man, what's Snoke's past? Where does he come from? Or do you think they're more concerned with what's up with Rey, what's up with Kylo, yada, yada, yada?
Oh yeah, I mean the kids are definitely more.
And I think that's how Johnson is phrasing it. And dude, I'm not trying to argue. I'm 100% with you. I want to learn everything about this guy. The way Rian Johnson has talked, it doesn't sound like his backstory, at least in The Last Jedi, is key to any of the main narratives.
Yeah. I guess where I was trying to get with the prequel stuff is that there was, even though the movies weren't out yet, there was an avenue for that story to be told. But with this one, there really isn't an avenue. Like, you can't make prequels to 7, 8, and 9.
Oh, sure you can, dude. Sure you can.
I mean, you can.
I mean, come on. It's Disney and Lucasfilm. You know they can. I mean, they can do whatever the hell they want. And there's almost 40 years of stories to tell. So
there are. It would just be so. I mean, I guess to me, in my head, I was thinking like, well, you've already numbered them, so you can't go back and be like, hey, this happened before. This is episode 6.2,
you're right,
episode 6.4.
That's why they have their standalones, and they could say, hey, it's a standalone trilogy that hooks into the Skywalker.
No, you're right. You're right. I guess I didn't really think of it that way. I was just like, you know,
there's a lot of story to be told, and if they run out of ideas, I could see them tapping into it. There's no doubt about it.
For sure.
Would you not watch a movie on the Battle of Jakku, just like fucking Rogue One? Would you not watch that?
Oh yeah, I mean, come on,
of course, I mean, right?
Of course. And I mean, there's a lot of stories to be told, like you said. I mean, they're not going to leave the 40-year period or the 30-year period between Episode 6 and Episode 7 completely empty. It's just not going to happen. There's going to be something there, and maybe that's the new setting for the cartoon series, because we all know Mark Hamill cannot go back and play a young Luke. It's not going to happen. That's the perfect setting for a cartoon series. You have Luke between Episode 6 and 7 making his Jedi Academy, training these Jedi. The Fall, you have Snoke in there somewhere, and that's where everything lays.
God, I mean, like I said, for decades. Just keep... If we're not all dead in 4 years, just keep them coming, people. All right, dude, so let's get on to the Kylo Ren bit from this week. And it was another interview with Rian Johnson, and they were talking Kylo Ren, and Ryan was just discussing how much he enjoyed writing this character, because he is a fun character, and that's because he's deeper than a Vader. You know, he's not 100% the big bad. He's still kind of this guy that... is in and out. You know, he's not Vader yet. He's not 100% committed to being a bad guy and just, following orders and killing and not even thinking about it. And, that's something that Johnson said that he was very interested in digging into in the movie, and we're probably going to see it. So, I also thought it was interesting, Nick, that he, again, is kind of presenting Kylo and Rey as two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Where one has obviously kind of veered off into a dark direction, and the other clearly is going to be our light side of the coin. It's going to be huge. I mean, these two in the end, I think Kylo and Rey are the Luke and Vader type of characters of this trilogy. So, I mean, they're going to decide the fate as the galaxy as we know it in 7, 8, 9, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty clear just from episode 7 that these two characters are going to be the deciding factor. No matter how big of a role Luke plays, no matter how big of a role Snoke plays, the two, I guess you would say dark side, light side forces that are going to be controlling the fate of the galaxy, as you said it, in these movies are going to be those two. It's going to be Kylo and Rey. And the way that I look at it is like two sides of the same coin. You could say dark and light, but you could also say like innocence versus corrupted, because Rey has never been exposed to any sort of force abilities. She was never under any sort of pressure. She never had any kind of expectations placed upon her or anything. She never had a literal dark side force user trying to corrupt her throughout her youth. And then you, on the other side, you have Kylo, who has the weight of the world on his shoulders. His parents are some of the most famous people in the galaxy, if not the most famous people in the galaxy. He is the heir to the Jedi throne because at this point, we're assuming he is, the only child of the Skywalker lineage. He has this incredible force ability within him, and he's also got the most evil and malevolent force in the entire universe corrupting him throughout his entire youth. So, I mean, who knows what would have happened to Rey if she would have been under similar circumstances. It's just what he's been through in his life is not even comparable to what Rey has been through. Yes, she's had hardship living on Jakku, not really having a family or anything like that, but the corruption and the way he is now in these films is due to that incredible amount of hardship and pressure and corruption that he had to deal with for his entire life.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that these two don't define how the galaxy ends up by the end of all this. So, and I do. I mean, I believe what Johnson is saying here, that Kylo, and even some of the rumors we've heard, that I still think he's the one that ignited the saber into his dad. I think when he said thank you, it was kind of his way of excusing his act and just kind of, almost forcing his thoughts on Han, like, oh yeah, hey, my dad basically said, oh yeah, I'll help you, I'll do anything, and that gave him the green light to fucking kill him. But I still don't think he's fully to the dark side, and we know that because Snoke pretty much says, hey, get this fucker, I need to complete his training. I mean, he's still in and out, and even his talk with his grandfather's helmet let us know that the light is pulling at him constantly. Because when it comes down to it, yes, the Skywalkers are probably the most adept at the Force of any family out there, but their struggle is that due to their connection to it, they're so strongly pulled between both sides that they almost in their lives have to make a decision like, I'm going full bad or full light, or I'm going to go insane.
Okay, so you're right. I mean, and that's been the struggle of every Skywalker ever. Anakin, Luke.
Right.
I mean,
they can't just cherry pick the best parts of each.
Yeah. So here's a crazy theory I'm going to throw at you that just kind of popped into my head. Leading up to this film, we've talked about it on previous casts. People keep saying things are going to happen in this movie that you're not ready for. Nobody's expecting what's going to happen. It's crazy, all this shit. You're never going to see it coming. You just mentioned the struggle of every Skywalker. you either go full dark or you go full light. We know that we have 2 Skywalkers in this film, confirmed Skywalkers. We have Kylo and we have Luke. Both of them are being pulled in directions that are opposite of where they're currently sitting. So what happens if we get the flip? What happens if Luke does go dark and then Kylo flips back to the light?
I mean, there's speculation out there. I mean, there's also speculation that Rey's the one that just drops over and Kylo goes good too. I would almost rather see that than Luke, just because it would be too much for me. But I mean, dude, are you keyed into the whole thing that Luke's probably wearing his father's kyber crystal around his neck?
Yeah, I did read that. Now, actually, that came from, it was a really good job pointing that out. One of our listeners commented on our YouTube video of the cast, and pointed it out to us that in one of the pop figures of Luke, you can clearly see him wearing a red kyber crystal around his neck.
And I thought the guy had a great theory that Luke may forge a new saber out of it or something, but I also think it could be influencing him. I mean, it could be the thing that is making him say, you know, fuck the Jedi and yada yada yada.
So you would, is that like a Jedi Horcrux?
Exactly.
From Harry Potter.
Yeah, like I mean, because now we know how these crystals turn red. Essentially, you know, Vader jacked it from a Jedi and fucking bled it.
Yeah.
And bled it red. So, I mean, there's got to be some sort of emotion in there or essence.
Dark side
or
resonance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can be completely right with that. I mean, and it would explain his isolation. It would explain his shift in mindset. It would also explain his, you know, his really dark garb, the black outfit that he's wearing that's very similar to his father. I mean, there's a lot of things that could come from just being exposed to a dark side.
I think it's going to be key. The more I think about it, I think it's going to be a key aspect of the film. It could even. I'm talking as simple as Rey asks Luke what it is, and then we go into some sort of backstory leading up to, you know, like the failure of his academy or something. I mean, I could see it being used narratively like that, just to kick into exposition about what has happened with Luke and why he's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
But we could also see it, you know, like our commenter said, it could turn into maybe a new hybrid type of lightsaber for Luke, because obviously he's casting aside the Skywalker family saber to Rey. I mean, we've seen her with it in her Resistance gear, but also in her Jedi training gear. So, I mean, that's pretty much hers at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to need to have some sort of weapon. We've talked about it before. I mean, where it's going to come from? And he has the crystal there now.
I still don't think he's going to have his Return of the Jedi saber, because, I mean, I'm pretty sure he threw it the fuck over his little plank right there where he kicked his dad's ass at.
Yeah. I mean, it would just be weird, too, because like we were saying before, I mean, you have 30, 40 years between these movies. Like, he couldn't have gone that long without a lightsaber. I mean, come on. He was training Jedi. Of course he had one.
Exactly.
So something would have needed to happen to that saber as well. Like, was it destroyed when Kylo and the Knights of Ren, you know, messed up the Jedi Academy? Was it, you know, did he cast it aside?
Yeah, or if he still has that, does he just inject the fucking red into it and go nuts? I mean, who knows?
Yeah, he could do that too. That's also a possibility. And then I think we could still, I mean, it could also be used as like, if he does stay to the light and Rey kind of talks him off the edge, it could be used as like a token of the last vestige of his past that he parts with. And he's like, okay, you know, I was holding on to this, you know, for memories of my father, for, you know, whatever reasons he has. But he doesn't feel like he needs it anymore after, you know, going through whatever he goes through with Rey. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that could be used. So, and we could also see that moment that I talked about that I completely fucking made up, and I don't know if that's how it works, but where you can get the red back to blue or something like that, where the user of the lightsaber that was formerly, you know, a Sith has turned back to the light, and then the darkness is withdrawn from the crystal. So There's a lot of cool shit that could happen.
This is just a random thought, but are you kind of pissed that Kylo still has the same fucking lightsaber?
It does annoy me a little bit, dude, because like we said before, like that thing was destroyed. We know it was. I mean, but it looks badass. And they've sold so many of them for toys and for lightsaber aficionados and Black Series, limited edition sabers that they're like, okay, maybe he can keep it. So, who knows? But it is a fucking badass looking saber.
All right, dude. Well, it's kind of funny to even say we're getting into our main topic, especially after we just spent an hour or so talking about random shit. But the big thing we wanted to talk about, everyone, is the fact that Colin Trevorrow has been booted from Star Wars Episode 9, which is just a few months after Chris Lord or Phil Lord and Chris Miller got kicked off Han Solo. So clearly there's some shit going on at Lucasfilm and Disney and its directors of these new Star Wars movies.
Yeah, it's definitely not great to have a director that you announced for your primary trilogy of movies getting kicked off 2 years out from release. Not ideal. But I think it goes to show you that Disney and Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, Pablo Hidalgo, Lawrence Kasdan, all of them, they're not fucking around when it comes to these movies. They know that one bad director can screw up a whole trilogy of movies because it's happened with Star Wars movies with the prequels. So they're not taking any chances. And until I'm proven wrong, until they prove me wrong, I'm always going to side with Lucasfilm and Disney when it comes to decisions like these. Because so far, we've had Gareth Edwards go through perfectly fine. Everything's going pretty well with Rian Johnson from what we know.
I think Gareth, obviously, Rogue One turned out to be excellent. But in the end, do you remember all the fucking bullshit? Even you and I got into it about the rewrites and the reshoots. And was he a fuck-up in the end? Did he fuck it up? Is that why they're doing it? You know what I mean? So there's kind of, outside of JJ, he's pretty much Teflon. But Gareth got some shit. Clearly the Han Solo guys got the boot, and now this guy gets the boot.
But I think, if we remember, when all that shit was going down with Rogue One, Kathleen Kennedy, they were out there, and
it was blown out.
Yeah, they were out there. They're saying, look, this isn't a big deal. This is just way blown out of proportion. These reshoots were planned. Yeah, we had some changes that we wanted to make, but it's not anything it's just way out of proportion. And we were proven they were right. They made some changes. They made the ending a little bit more appealing with that Vader scene. A little bit, a shitload more appealing. But overall, the entirety of the movie was excellent. And that was all in Gareth's hands. It's not like they reshot the whole film. So, and then Ryan has been doing a great job up until now at least. So, and then just there's an article that we're going to be referring to. It's from Vulture, and it's basically kind of giving us some insight into what the hell was going on with Colin Trevorrow leading up to his dismissal.
Oh, it sounds like he's a fucking cocksucker.
Yeah. If you want to jump into it, basically what they're saying in a nutshell is after Jurassic World, this dude turned into an egomaniac.
Well, there's something that came out today from just comicbook.com that kind of confirms that during Jurassic World, he focused, and this is a direct quote, he focused a great deal of his creative energies on asserting his opinion. So you know what that means, people, is he's a fucking cocky dickwad that instead of focusing his energy on directing the movie, he was more concerned with telling everyone how he thought things should go down.
Yeah, and then you know what happens when you do that, and then your movie becomes the highest-grossing film of all time until Star Wars comes out. You get treated like a god.
Right, exactly.
So that's what happened. This dude comes from a film before that, Safety Not Guaranteed, super small, very well written. I'll say that. It was a an entertaining movie to watch if you haven't seen it. But then he goes on to make Jurassic World, has this attitude, this air of, my opinion is more important than the story for this movie. And then he goes all the way through directing it. The movie makes $1 billion, blows up across the world. People enjoy it. And now you have a director who thinks he can do no wrong and who's going into the biggest movie of his life, which is the penultimate or the last film, not the penultimate, the last film of the biggest movie franchise in movie history. So that's a very dangerous and volatile combination of things to be happening. And now we see why Colin Trevorrow got kicked off this movie, because he's just like, this is, I made $1 billion with Jurassic World. This is what I want to happen in Star Wars, and it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, then he's going to throw a hissy fit, and that's what it sounds like he did. I mean, it's fucking crazy.
This insider goes on to say, and I love this, he's really, really, really confident. Let's call it that. So, again, they're basically saying he's a fucking cocky son of a bitch.
Yeah, and this is something that they said about his time on Jurassic World.
And the only reason he got away with it is because Spielberg directly hired him.
Yeah, exactly. It says,
so he had the golden ticket. He was like, fuck you, everyone.
Yeah.
He was untouchable.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg comes in and says, you're my guy. And when Steven Spielberg says you're my guy, you can't not be the guy now. Like, you're it until Steven Spielberg says you're not the guy. So he had free reign to do whatever the hell he wanted. And I guess he got used to that kind of, treatment when he was on Jurassic World, because he tried to carry that over into Star Wars. And to be completely honest with you, dude, I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did with all this information coming out. Like, I would have figured
I was never 100% on him anyways. I mean, I think deep down I was like, okay, well, if they trust him, go for it. But in the end, the only reason Jurassic World was good is because fucking Chris Pratt was in it.
I mean, yeah, Chris Pratt was in it.
That guy at this point, pretty much anything he's in is going to be tolerable, if not pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the movie itself, it was entertaining. I had a good time watching it. Obviously, there was some cheese in it, especially at the end with the fucking raptor scene fighting the Indominus Rex.
Right,
and all
but
that
I mean,
shit.
it was nothing fucking special or groundbreaking,
No, I mean,
and he had the franchise history behind it for ticket sales. So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, people had been craving a Jurassic. I mean, just a big giant dinosaur chasing flick for a while now. It hadn't been a Jurassic Park movie in a long time. But I think so. According to this article, and this is, I think we kind of brought this up a couple weeks ago. I don't know if on a cast. I mean, the movie that he did after Jurassic World was that Book of Henry, and it tanked, and that's what prompted Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm to be like, all right, buddy, you've been hot shit for a little while now because of Jurassic World, but you just put out this steaming pile of shit, and now guess what? We have reason to just throw your ass out, and they did. They were like, look, we were riding on your reputation from Jurassic World. And now that that's kind of cooled off and you put out something that it's complete garbage, we don't really need to keep you anymore.
Yeah,
like we've been putting up with your shit.
Exactly.
Not anymore.
It's not worth dealing with your shit for your cred at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, the insider who's, leaking all of this information to him, he's pretty clear on saying that this isn't a new feeling towards Colin Trevorrow. It's kind of been permeating for a little while now, and they were just waiting for the right moment, and the right moment came, and they got him out of there.
Well, at least at least they did it before they started shooting. I mean,
yeah, I was gonna say
it's a little bit different than the Han Solo deal.
Yeah,
but he still had a heavy hand in writing. But I mean, who knows what they're gonna do to the script now?
Yeah, I mean, I know before they fired him, they brought in a new writer. Somebody to spruce up the script. It was Jack Thorne, I believe is his name, and he doesn't really have a lot of big credits to his name. He's mostly like a TV writer for some UK TV shows and stuff like that. You can look him up on IMDb. So they already had somebody in there doing work. Now it's just gonna be who if they're going to bring in somebody else to continue that work to do almost a full script rewrite, or if they're going to bring in the director first and then have the director bring in a writer that he's worked with in the past to kind of help spruce things up. So I think that's where we transition into, who our choices are. Who would we like to see on this film? So Matt, you want to kick that off?
Yeah, I mean, some of these are just going to be far-fetched, but they're going to be fun just to throw out there. And not all these are things that I cooked up. I mean, some of these were nominations I saw in various Star Wars forums or comment sections to articles announcing the departure of Trevorrow. But I thought an interesting one, and one that I know would never happen, but Christopher Nolan. I thought was pretty interesting. I definitely,
such a crazy.
Yeah, I think he would never work, because I think some of these guys and their artistic creativity, or what they want to pursue with the art of film, he probably would never fit into that Kathleen Kennedy, Disney, Lucasfilm culture. But I think he would make a pretty fucking radical Star Wars movie. Yeah,
I think he would if he was able to get on a film. Like, if there was a standalone that Disney was and Lucasfilm was really okay with, the director taking kind of creative liberties, then he could knock it out the park.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen Dunkirk, but it's one of the best fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's fucking amazing.
I haven't seen it yet, but it's definitely on my radar.
It's a stunning film, and what he did with just the sound and the lack of dialogue. I mean, the guy is a fucking artist. There's no doubt about it, but he never would fit in the kind of square box that at least the Skywalker movies have to live in. And I think they're keeping a pretty tight clamp on all the Star Wars movies to just make them. The standalones may feel slightly different, but in the end, Rogue One still felt like a Star Wars movie, and I think that's their goal. And it sounds like these fucking directors are trying to be like, hey, I'm fucking Chris Miller. I'm Phil Lord. I'm Colin Trevorrow. I want to do it this way. I want to be known for this and that. And they're just like, hey, the formula works, fuckheads. We've made billions. Eat a dick, eat a clit, peace.
Yeah. So, and another one I thought that you brought up that I thought was actually really interesting was David Fincher.
What did you go back and I went back and looked on that. I mean, apparently George Lucas at one time wanted him to direct a Star Wars movie.
I just think that would be, I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but Fincher he has such a unique twist. I don't want to say even unique twist. He's a downright dark director. He directs dark shit. And it's just man, I don't know how a Star Wars movie, I mean, if he directed it, I would like to see his take on Episode 5. I'd like to see his take on, what could be Episode 8, because we're assuming that's going to be the darker of the new trilogy. But man, I mean, Fincher, I think he could do well, but I think he's again in that situation that Nolan is, where he wants to have a lot of creative control. So...
yeah, I mean, it's just we're going to get to the guys that are probably going to make it, and you're going to know why they're going to make it. Another one was George himself.
Yeah, bring back...
Which I'm like, no, don't.
Yeah, no.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I agree. I mean, that's a poignant decision. You bring him in, bring him in to wrap up the Skywalker saga. Bring it back to the creator.
Yeah, and just to make it
sounds good.
To make it shit.
Exactly. It sounds nice. The guy's done with Star Wars, but then now there's this magical opening. Bring him back. But guess what, people? We know what a George Lucas directed Star Wars film looks like. It looks like all of the prequels. We've been down this road before. Yes, he made a good Star Wars movie with Episode 4, but it was the first one, and it was before he had this giant head I am the creator of Star Wars, I can do no wrong. With the prequels, we've seen what he can do. I mean, if they announced it and said George Lucas is directing Episode 9, I mean, I don't know how I would react. I'd probably be okay with it. but it's not. He was definitely not my top 5. I'll put it that way.
He's not even my top 10. And I hate saying that because I love the guy. I mean, he created it all in the first place. But he just, with me, not even so much with the prequels, what he did with those, but what he did to his originals, more than anything, hurts me more than the prequels.
Yeah, the specialized editions definitely.
Because the prequels, you can just chalk them up as being the prequels. And it was like a new era in filmmaking, and I think he was more interested in progressing that art than the actual story of these movies. And clearly the innovations they created have led to some pretty amazing advances in filmmaking, but they also led to the degradation of the Star Wars lore, which to me is a fucking sin.
Agreed.
But anyways, yeah, I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Another one, Spielberg.
Spielberg, I think, like, honestly, he's in, like, my top 3. I think that's one thing that everybody would like to see.
But would he would he be too influenced by George? That's my only question. Because, I mean, they're kind of buddy. Yeah, I mean, they're homeboys. I mean, they did indie together. I mean, they've done a lot.
Yeah, they've done a lot together. They've been best friends or really close friends for decades. But I think Spielberg has the ability to separate his friendship from his work, and especially for something like Star Wars. And maybe, he goes into it and he's thinking like, I'll make this one for George, but not in like, I'm going to make it like George would, but like, I'm going to make this movie the best that I can because, my buddy created this shit. And, he helped me with Indy, and Indy turned into a massive success. I mean, so I'm going to do right by him. I'm going to go into Star Wars. I'm going to close out the Skywalker saga the right way. And I think he would do a good job, honestly. I mean, like, he's worked, within this realm of sci-fi before. He's an incredible director. You can't look at a Spielberg movie and say that the directing was lacking, in my opinion. I mean,
he's fantastic, but I think it's a long shot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think out of respect for George alone, he probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna fire off a few that I thought of, off the top of my head that I thought would be cool. First one, obviously, is Joss Whedon. I'm a fan of Joss's work from
I would take
the TV shows and stuff like that. Obviously,
Avengers, there you go, right there. If you really break down the MCU, I honestly think one of the best overall movies is the first Avengers.
Oh yeah, it was excellent. And then, not to mention, he's apparently jumped in on Justice League and saved it.
He has. Like, I mean, he's been running Justice League since, unfortunately, Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide. And he took over. And I mean, you would only think that he would make it better. I mean, I don't think they could redo the whole thing. But I think he could massage enough of the key story points to make it as good as it could be.
I don't know, dude. I read an article recently that said that he's getting primary screenwriter credit now for that movie. So he came in and he fucking did the whole deal. Like, I mean, it might not have been primary screenwriter, but he's getting a screenwriter credit in the film, like on the card. In the movie.
Isn't it supposed to be coming out soon?
Yeah, I think it's 18.
Is it 18? Like spring 18 maybe?
Yeah, it's close. It's definitely not the end of this year, but it's close. But yeah, dude, like I would like to see Joss just because of the work that he did with Firefly and Serenity. The movie Serenity was great. Again,
I mean, I would totally trust in him. I would support that.
Yeah, and another one that, like, this was one that I had kind of kicked around right when the acquisition was announced, and it's Matthew Vaughn. And a lot of people don't know his name, but he's the guy who did X-Men First Class. He did the Kingsman movie that the release a couple years ago. He did the new Kingsman movie that's getting ready to release. He's a very good director of action. If you've seen Kingsman, you know that. Incredibly, visually appealing film. The acting in it was top notch with guys like Sam Jackson, Colin Firth, stuff like that. And then we also know that he can work within an established story framework because of the stuff that he did with X-Men First Class. And like, to me, First Class is like the best of the quote unquote new X-Men movies, like anything that came after the original trilogy. And honestly, it's better than the third X-Men movie too. So I think he could do a pretty good job. And really, like, the third one, like I said, I was going to do a few, but like there's other names out there, but none of them are really like as standout to me as the ones that we've already mentioned. But yeah, I mean, those two primarily, and then who knows, maybe we see like a wild card thrown in there somewhere. But yeah, I think we hit on all the big ones.
Well, I mean, let's get down to the ones where I think they had the best chance, and I think that those directors are J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in the end, I would not be surprised if Rian just takes it over.
Yeah, and this is something we talked about a little bit off mic. We already know that Ryan's done work with the script on episode 9.
I think he shot a scene for it, didn't he?
Yeah, I think there's something that came out that said he's already done work on it. He shot a scene and he's written. So, and apparently, according to this article from Deadline that we have pulled up, like, he has been the ideal collaborator with Lucasfilm.
Right.
Like, he's a joy to work with. He's been, a great part of the family on his time.
He gets it.
His time on
he
episode
fucking
8.
gets it like JJ got it. They understood, like, yes, I mean, sure, their vision is important, their direction is key, but in the end, they're visiting in this fucking universe, and it's not theirs. They're there to play with it, and they're there to tell a new story with it, but they're not there to try to put their own stamp on it. Yeah,
I mean, this isn't, Star Wars, a movie by J.J. Abrams or a movie by Rian Johnson. This is, Star Wars, tiny letters, directed by whoever. Like, the director is not important in Star Wars. Star Wars is important in Star Wars. The story is important in Star Wars. The characters. The director, as long as he does his job and doesn't fuck shit up, it's fine. We're worried about the story.
And I almost think keeping that continuity is probably better for the actors. I mean, I wouldn't have been opposed to JJ directing all 3 fucking movies. I mean, I can remember going like, this is kind of weird that they're picking different directors for each film. I mean, yeah, they're all going to be telling this trilogy, but in the end, they're humans. They're going to want to put their own spin on it, which clearly we've seen they're trying to do, and when they do, they get kick the fuck out.
Yeah. I mean, but like, they did that with the original trilogy too. You had the 3 directors. You had Lucas, Kirshner, and Kasdan. Actually, that was my third one, was Lawrence Kasdan. He directed episode 6 really well. Bring him back. Do episode 9. He's already there.
Yeah, but knows George was essentially key behind the story. I mean, he was still like a main player. It's not like, JJ got maybe a producer credit on The Last Jedi or something like that.
Yeah, but I think that in that role, in that specific role of like story guardian that George was, I mean, that's now what Lawrence Kasdan is. Right. And I think if you let him direct 9, not only has he already directed a Star Wars movie. Like,
I would be down with that 100%. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So
I mean,
but yeah,
if you had to pick your top 3, who are they right now?
Top 3 for me would be Rian Johnson 1, just because like we've been talking about continuity and just the overall familiar feeling with the new trilogy, with the actors of the new trilogy. Pick 2 would be Lawrence Kasdan for me, and then pick 3 would probably be Joss Whedon, just because I think he could do some incredible shit with it.
Yeah, I'm going to go J.J. Johnson, Kasdan. Just because, hey, we know what J.J. can do. And it was, to me, I loved it. I mean, I know that he gets a bad rap, that it was essentially a retelling of A New Hope, but who gives a fuck? It was a new Star Wars movie with new characters, new locations, and it was fucking rad. I mean, did it benefit in our minds and people that saw the prequels and were turned off by them? Possibly, but I still think it's a great movie. And there are still moments in that film where I watch it and I can feel like emotions take a hold of me. So,
Oh yeah.
I'm just, I know he's a safe bet. And I think Johnson's going to be a safe bet. But I agree with you. I think Kasdan is probably even more in tune with the Star Wars universe than those two guys put together. So
yeah, I mean, the guy's a lifer. He's been on it since,
come on. Come on. He's done it all. So I don't know. I think we're going to hear something fairly soon, though. I don't think this is something they just kind of leave up in the air, because I think they want to start shooting in January.
Yeah, it's got to be soon. So do you think that they're waiting until after Episode 8 to make a decision? Because, like, if it's Johnson and then Episode 8 comes out and people aren't impressed with it, how do you think that's going to do for buzz of Episode 9? Like,
well, no,
hey,
so that's why I think they would do it before it comes out, because they're going to build on the pre-hype buzz if it's going to be Johnson.
Oh, yeah. But my point is, like, you announce it now or, like, very soon in the pre-hype buzz, but if the movie comes out, and, like, it's probably not going to happen, but if the movie comes out and falls relatively flat,
you're fucked.
Yeah, now you have him attached to your next movie.
Mean, yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it, and that's why these people make $1 jillion. So they'll figure it out. I mean, I think it's either going to come real soon, or like you said, maybe if they are kind of thinking of Johnson or even JJ, maybe probably more Johnson though, they may wait to see how it is received. And if they wanted Johnson all along, as soon as it comes out on the 15th and if it kicks ass, and be like, by the way, he's coming back for Episode 9.
Yep, and then explosions, hype train is in full effect again.
Yeah, right back to work.
Yeah, but I mean, like, now, if it was JJ, they could do it now and they'd be safe.
Exactly.
Because you already have his shit out.
Exactly.
And then it's done.
Exactly. Or anyone else. I mean, really, Johnson's the only one that you're right. They would almost have to hedge their bet on that one.
Yeah, just wait it out a little bit.
But I don't think that's. He just seems like such a genuine dude and a guy that has literally just poured himself into this. So.
Yeah, and we haven't heard a negative thing about him from any of the actors.
No, I mean,
no negative leaks
and you
about him.
can tell. I mean, anytime you've seen him in an appearance, you can tell he's genuine. I mean, the guy's toting around a fucking film camera, literally taking shots still to capture moments on film. I mean, he's just one of those fucking low key, chill, artistic, very creative motherfuckers.
Yeah, I mean, any of those three, dude, or honestly, any of the ones that we named, I think could do Star Wars really well. If it ends up being Johnson, I'd be happy. If it ends up being JJ, I'd be happy too. I would imagine, though, that if it is somebody who isn't Rian Johnson, we're gonna get the announcement soon, probably. Yeah, what do you say? Like 2 weeks?
Oh,
something like
easily.
that. Because they probably want to put this to bed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, because it is. I mean, it's starting. I mean, there's already been articles like, "What the hell's going on over at Disney and Lucasfilm?" That because they'll lump in the Josh Trank thing because he was let go of a secret project that was apparently Boba Fett. The Han Solo deal just happened, and now this. So people are already speculating like, what is it? You got meatheads like, oh, it's Kathleen Kennedy, and then you got people like, oh, it's Disney, it's a conspiracy, or they want control, yada yada yada. So I think they have to get out in front of it, and hopefully it comes maybe not alongside a trailer, but within the same realm. I really think we're going to get that news and a trailer before September's up. I hope so, at least. Yeah,
I mean, I hope so. I mean, we have a long month ahead of us. We're talking, got 3 weeks left of September, so that's a lot of time to cover. And if there's no drop on a director or on a trailer, that's going to be a little weird for sure. So.
All right, buddy. Well, as usual, we kind of went all over the place. We made a couple jumps to hyperspace, and we ended up back where we wanted to talk about, and that was about the whole Colin Trevorrow deal, which in the end is, I mean, it's got to be a good thing. We got to trust in Disney. They really haven't let us down yet. I know some of you angry motherfuckers out there want to accuse Disney of bringing in different races and females. I mean, just die at this point in time. But anyways, it's been great talking about Star Wars as usual. Hopefully you enjoyed the discussion. We'll be back for more. I mean, we're not scheduled to talk next week, but if something comes up in the meantime, we're going to fire up these mics and talk about it and give you our opinions and kind of let you know how you should be thinking, or just fill you in on the world of Star Wars. So as it goes, everyone, may the Force be with you always.